All right, welcome back to the channel. So, wow, I am happy about this. Errol Spence Jr. and Jermell Charlo, according to Jermell Charlo, will be fighting on the same card. Errol Spence versus Ugas, and Charlo, man, cross my fingers that it's Castano, but that's not for sure. Regardless, that is an exciting situation for a lot of reasons. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back, welcome back. So, looks like we might get a great pay-per-view card. I am excited about this. Went to Twitter today, saw what Jermell Charlo had to say about his next up-and-coming fight. He responded to a fan and said something to the effect of no, but we'll be on the same card as Errol Spence, which is absolutely big news. And then he said, big announcement coming soon. So clearly the big announcement is who he's gonna fight. But just knowing that Errol Spence Jr. and he are gonna share a card, I think that means really, really big things. I actually for both fighters, and I think it's a great move by the PBC if that's what they do. And I think that they'll find that they do very good pay-per-view numbers and have a hit on their hands if they go about that way. Because to me, that reminds me of like a throwback to the Don King fight cards where you had more than one fight that you're really looking forward to seeing. And when you have more than one fight that you're looking to see, for the people that do buy the fight, it's just a lot better event. So to hear Jermell Charlo say that that's a case, or that's the potential for that to be the case, I'm really excited. So Jermell Charlo fighting on the same card, I think has, a couple benefits for Jermell Charlo. First, hopefully the fight is going to be against Brian Castano, and that would make that a fight for undisputed. However, seeing as he is going to be, if it's true that he's going to be on the same card as Errol Spence, then I'm thinking that maybe he's not going to fight Brian Castano, because that would seem like the potential to build up for that fight, because this would be Jermell Charlo's second consecutive pay-per-view. His first pay-per-view was on the same card as Jermell, and that pay-per-view did well, but there was no really big star, on that card. In this particular instance, I think it's going to be, first of all, Spence is going to headline the fight. I don't think that there would be any question about who would headline the card. And to have Errol fighting Ugas, who's not necessarily the most popular or wide-known fighter in the world, that I think is for Errol Spence Jr. is a bit of a drop-off in the name recognition of his competition. So to have a secondary fighter on the bill to bolster it, I think that's a real good thing for the pay-per-view sales for Errol Spence, because Jermell Charlo, and I say this till I'm blue in the face, Jermell Charlo is one of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Any fair analysis of what this guy has done, in the ring would tell you that, being only one of 2 people, I do believe, holding 3 of the major championships, or excuse me, 3 people holding 3 of the major championship belts. The first one being Anthony Joshua at heavyweight. The second one being Teofimo Lopez at 135 pounds, because I don't count the franchise champion. And the last one, the other one, being Jermell Charlo. So that I think is a fight that bolsters that really well. And I think as a result, you're going to get really good attendance in Dallas, because you got 2 Texas fighters fighting on the same card, one from Houston, the other one from Dallas. So more than likely that fight's going to be in Dallas. It's going to be in Dallas Stadium. So that's a good thing, to give value to the crowds. Now, the reason why I don't think that I think there's a chance that the Castano fight might not happen is because of the pay-per-view situation. Jermell Charlo is going to want somewhere to go from this fight. So if Errol Spence Jr. Fighting on the penultimate fight, I think is what you call it, the one that's right before last, or the co-main event, that's going to allow Jermell Charlo's name to go get promoted very heavily throughout that entire promotion of that dual card, right? That co-main event card. So that when he fights Brian Castano, now that he's been on his third consecutive pay-per-view, there's a chance that the Brian Castano fight for Undisputed might be one where he could do a pay-per-view, a solo pay-per-view. And that obviously is where he wants to go with his career. So, that two-step move, I think, is very possible for him. One, getting more recognition with his second pay-per-view fight in a row, and this one being on a bigger card because he would be the co-main event with Errol Spence, and as a result, setting up the fight with Brian Castano. Now, I think that's what's going to happen. Now, what I would definitely prefer to happen is that he fight Brian Castano, but there are several really good fighters that Jermell Charlo could face. Guys like Jarrett Hurd. I mean, if you guys recall, Jarrett Hurd, who lost his belt to Julian J. Rock Williams, was the big fight for Jermell Charlo. So if Jarrett Hurd is, and I do believe Jarrett Hurd is still at 154 pounds, a fight with Jarrett Hurd, I think, is a big fight that a lot of people would draw a lot of people's interest. So that's a really good fight that he can make. Other ones that he can make, I'm not quite sure. You obviously have the Erickson-Lubin rematch. I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't think J-Rock necessarily is a good option for him, but there's a whole lot of guys at 154 pounds that could be compelling fights. Even Fundora, the big 6'4", he's not 6'4". I think that is he 6'4" or closer to like 6'7", 140-pound fighter. That's a 154-pound fighter. That's a potential. You also have the potential of guys moving up to 154. I don't think that it's going to be Danny Garcia, but Danny Garcia said, hey, man, I'm a big name. I want to move up to 154. Maybe Danny Garcia says, hey, man, I'm ready to take a chance and get that money, see if I can get my hands on those 3 belts. So, on the outside chance of, that's obviously an outside chance, the Danny Garcia fight, but, there are several fights that could be made for Jermell Charlo. And also, there's an argument to be made that, Jermell Charlo really deserves an easy fight. After having had Rosario, who he fought for to unify the 3 belts. Before that, he had Tony Harrison, and before that, he had Tony Harrison. Before that, I can't recall who that was, whether it was like a Coda, I think, but somebody else. Those 3 fights, though, I think you definitely should consider, top knife. I think Lubin might have been before that. So, he's definitely had a good number of tight fights or high level fights. So, I don't even think it's out of sorts for him to, fight someone else. There's also the mandatories that might be there, and who knows. I wouldn't be surprised if they had like Israel Madmadov or something like that get a shot at the title. There was also somebody else. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was Israel Madmadov is the Eastern European fighter that's high in the rankings for the WBA, or was high in the rankings in the WBA at the time. I would like to see Brian Castano, though, but really all of those fights are about the same level of fight, and I think that Jermell Charlo is going to get through all of them. So anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think. Who will be Jermell Charlo's next opponent? Do you think these guys are really going to be on the same card? Are you willing to pay for it? Let me know in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.